While most people can fuse with only a single monster, he, on the other hand, can fuse with up to 9.9 million. The first monster he fused with? None other than the legendary Emperor Demon Mad Flame Daimala, a being of royal bloodline. Despite awakening such an overwhelming gift, he was still mocked as a useless failure. Why? Because the world's evaluation system was far too primitive to comprehend or measure his immense potential. At that very moment, his consciousness descended into a new world. Snapping his eyes open, still trying to make sense of his surroundings, a strange message suddenly appeared in his mind. This world was called Blue Star, a land ruled by martial prowess, constantly threatened by monstrous beasts emerging through mysterious portals. These terrifying creatures had already annihilated several nations. After years of struggle, humanity developed the Beast Gene system, a way to awaken hidden power by injecting beast genes, turning ordinary people into powerful warriors. It became the only path to defend civilization. Thus began an era where martial strength determined everything. Our protagonist, Yihei, a young man who traveled from another world, is now just a warrior prep student preparing for his final exams. Recalling the memories of the previous owner of this body, he found out that after losing both his parents in a tragic accident during his sophomore year, his will to train and study crumbled, leaving him at the bottom of his class. As he was still wondering what he should do, a bald man appeared in the classroom, standing in front of all the students. He informed everyone that today was the day they would be injected with the gene modification serum, the day all their efforts over the past 3 years of building their physique and training their martial energy would finally be put to the test. Turning toward our boy, he gave him a sharp look and said, "Those who never took this seriously will be left behind." Seeing his expression, our boy couldn't help but wonder why he was being treated that way. It's not like he had been slacking off for the past 3 years. Still, he knew things had to change now. He had inherited the original guy's role in this world, and that meant it was up to him to clean up the mess no matter what it took. Eventually, all of them arrived at the school hall, buzzing with excitement to see what kind of abilities they would awaken. As the students continued chatting among themselves, the massive metal boxes on the stage suddenly began to open. From within emerged large tubes, each one containing the gene awakening serum, infused with the primal genes of every magic beast ever recorded by humanity. Before handing out the injections, the teacher explained a few important things to the students. Once they injected the serum into their bodies, they would randomly awaken abilities from various monsters. However, the strength of the gene they awakened would depend entirely on their own physique. He also warned them that the process could be painful, and they would need to endure it and embrace the surge of power that followed. With that, the injections were distributed to the students, and one by one, they began awakening their abilities. Watching their reactions, our boy hesitated for a moment. But with no other option, he steeled himself, and without wasting any more time, injected the serum. As soon as the serum entered his body, his eyes began to glow with a bright blue light, radiating an otherworldly intensity. But in the very next second, the glow vanished. Both he and the teacher were left puzzled, wondering why his body wasn't undergoing any visible changes, unlike the rest of the students who were already reacting to the serum. Before either of them could understand what was going on, a girl named Wang Xing approached our boy with a smug expression, informing both of them that a loser like him just wasn't able to awaken anything. Poking at his face, she told our boy it was a good thing, as now he didn't have to worry about being a warrior and could just go home and wait to die like a loser. But our Sigma male held back his emotions, reminding himself that he couldn't hit a girl, but also recalled how this BH made the life of the previous owner of this body a living hell. Just then, something started happening to his body as he felt a sharp pain coursing through his veins. And out of nowhere, a system window appeared in front of him, informing him he had awakened an ability called Infinite Monster Template, along with 4 skills. Seeing him shivering in pain, Wang Xin couldn't help but wonder what he was doing. Was he trying to pretend to be awakening his powers just to save face? But our boy, clearly fed up with her, tells her to get away from him. But the girl refused, so our boy thought it is what it is, and decided to let her suffer the consequences of her actions. With that, a powerful surge of energy exploded from his body, knocking the girl away like a twig. This was the power of an A-rank monster called Mad Flame Daimala, which looked just like Godzilla, so that's what I'm gonna call it. The girl slammed violently several meters away, scaring everyone in the room as they tried to get away from our boy, since his aura was too overwhelming for them to handle. After the power had fully infused with his body, Yi suddenly saw a system interface pop up, explaining the details of his awakening. It read that he had obtained an A-rank template, Mad Flame Daimala, and along with it a few bloodline abilities. The first was Scorching Breath, the second Molten Pulse, and the third Spore Absorption. There was also an advanced form, but it was currently locked. His compatibility with the power was only at 3%. And he needed to reach 100% to unlock its full potential. Meanwhile, the rest of the students were freaking out, seeing how he managed to blow away everyone just by his aura. Not only that, he even managed to knock out the poor Wang Xin, who had awakened a second-tier magic beast. Overwhelmed by all the sudden praise, our boy scratched his head and apologized, saying he warned Wang Xin to step back. She just didn't listen. As that was happening, an announcement echoed through the hall, calling all students to proceed to the testing building for examination. It was time to see what kind of magical beast genes they had awakened. Arriving in the place, our boys saw massive tube-looking devices covering the whole room. With that, the testing began. One by one, students entered the pods and the results started rolling in. A bunch of students came out with very powerful awakened abilities after their gene modification. But despite all that, all eyes were on our boy, since he was the one with the most powerful aura and everyone had high expectations from him. Despite all the pressure, he approached the tube and upon entering, the machine did its thing. And to everyone's shock, he was ranked at the bottom of the class. According to the machine, he had awakened at Martial Disciple Stage 3 with an unknown bloodline. Seeing the test results, the whole place that was praising him just seconds ago filled up with mocking laughter from the students. Damn, some even said that what happened earlier was probably just a loud fart that blew everyone away. Meanwhile, our boy, after hearing their words, quietly walked out of the machine, disappointed that his template wasn't detected by the machine. But little did they know, while the machine was scanning his body, it triggered the system to show him a new skill that he possessed called Infinite Monster Template, and to upgrade it, he had to either complete quests or increase his reputation. Every time he did, he would unlock additional monster templates. Realizing how powerful this ability was, our boy started laughing like a maniac, realizing if he kept leveling up his skill, it was just a matter of time before he became the king of all monsters. Fast forward to the next day, he was seen standing next to the teacher, telling him he wanted to take a break from school and study at home to prepare for the upcoming college entrance exam. He explained that he'd already fallen behind, and if he wanted to catch up to the others, he needed to go through special training. But the teacher shook his head and told him straight, his foundation was too weak. There was no way he'd pass the college exam like this. He suggested our boy just accept reality, repeat the year, and try again next time. But our fool, not giving up, insisted, telling the man that he had awakened a powerful bloodline. And if he really wanted to get stronger, he couldn't just sit in a classroom all day. He needed to be out there training hard. That was the only way for him to pass the exam. Seeing his sparkling eyes, the old man felt a bit uneasy but reluctantly agreed to his request. He already knew the kid wasn't going to pass, even if he kept coming to school, so honestly, it was better to just let him go and keep him out of his class. Fast forward, he was seen making his way through the city, thinking back to what he had done. After mortgaging the house for $600,000 and with the compensation money from his parents' accident, he now had over $1 million saved up, a decent amount for startup capital. The reason he was doing all this was simple. There were only two ways for him to level up. One, by leveling up as a warrior, and two, by increasing the compatibility rate with Timura's template. According to the info in the Infinite Monster template, every template starts with just 1 point of compatibility, but Timura had 3. That meant the other 2 points came from absorbing the genetic awakening serum, which led him to one important conclusion. He could enhance a template's power by consuming gene-related serums. So instead of training himself to death like everyone else, he just needed to spend money to raise his template's compatibility. Eventually, he arrived at the place, but the moment he stepped in, he was left speechless. The entire building was packed with people who had awakened their bloodlines, and the pressure in the air was overwhelming. After awakening Mad Flame Demora, he had gained one of its unique sensory abilities, Life Magnetic Field. With it, he could sense the chi and blood surging inside every single person in the room, and all of it was triggering something deep inside him, his fighting desire. After all, Mad Demora wasn't just some random beast, it was the king of all monsters, a creature born to dominate, destined to conquer all life on the planet. As he was standing there, gritting his teeth like an idiot, he suddenly got startled when someone called out to him from behind. Turning around, he saw a healthy-looking girl standing there staring at him. She had clearly noticed him peeking into people's chi. Realizing he got caught, our boy quickly apologized. But the girl didn't seem to mind. She just assumed he was a newbie who couldn't control his powers and brushed it off. Still, she was curious. Why would someone like him be at the warrior's center? So our boy explained he was here to buy genetic medicine, but the place was too damn huge and he got lost. That actually surprised the girl. Seeing her expression, he casually asked if he should even be buying it. The girl explained that wasn't the issue. The problem was that the medicine was extremely expensive, and if he used too much of it, he'd build up resistance, making it less effective over time. She told him that most warriors wait until their bloodline reaches a bottleneck before using another dose just to get the most out of it. But for him, that didn't matter. He didn't care about bottlenecks. He just needed to raise his compatibility rate with Timura's template. So he asked her straight up, how much does it cost? And her answer hit him like a truck. 400,000. And that wasn't even the high-grade stuff, just the solid-type beginner potion. With his current savings, he couldn't even afford 5. With no other option, he asked if she knew someone who could give him a discount. To his surprise, she handed him a business card. When he looked at it, he saw her name, Huang Yi Li, a 4th-rank martial artist. She told him that if he used her referral, he'd get a discount at the counter. He nodded, thanked her, and started walking away, already doing the math in his head. But when he arrived at the counter, he was taken aback. Everything was way more expensive than he expected. Still, he knew he needed this if he wanted to get stronger. So, after an exhausting day of spending a ridiculous amount of money, he finally made it back home. Without wasting a second, he injected his body with every dose of serum he bought. And at least it paid off. His beast template jumped from 3% to 7%, and his overall stats skyrocketed. He even managed to break through and reach armed rank 7, but all that came with a massive toll on his body. Sure, his physique had improved a lot, but while using the potions he noticed something. As his body grew stronger, triggering further base mutations became harder and harder. Still, it was a huge win. He managed to reach a level that normally takes an average person 3 years to achieve, and he did it in a single day using nothing but his base physical stats. He hadn't even started tapping into Dimola's bloodline power yet. With everything in place, he was finally ready to head into the secret realm. We're told these secret realms are made up of different rifts, each ranked from S to E based on the danger level of the beasts inside. S-rank rifts are a straight-up nightmare, the kind of place where the monsters don't just kill you, they end civilizations. If those beasts ever made it into the real world, it'd be an apocalyptic mess. Which is why not everyone gets permission to step into one. Fast forward to the next day, our boy was all geared up, wearing his newly bought equipment, ready to enter his first ever secret realm. But once inside the facility, he noticed something weird. The place was a lot less crowded than he expected. Maybe it was because this particular rift was pretty old. Most of the treasure was probably already looted, leaving behind just a bunch of low-level beasts. Perfect training dummies for rookies. Not thinking too much about it, he walked up to the front desk and told the woman he was here to get his entry ticket. She barely looked up before slamming a stack of papers in front of him. Those death waivers? That's your ticket. Fast forward again, he was now standing in front of a massive portal, staring straight into the mouth of the secret realm. Just seeing it got him fired up. This was it, the start of his journey to become the king of beasts. Without wasting another second, he leapt toward the rift. For a moment, it felt like falling into an endless pit. But soon he was thrown out the other side, and what he saw left him speechless. Even though he'd read about this place 100 times in books, nothing compared to actually standing in it. The scenery was insane, way more majestic than he ever imagined. As he was admiring the view, a bunny-looking creature managed to sneak up on him from behind. It was a first-rank beast called the Baldafang Rabbit, and the thing was clearly thirsty for blood. Wasting no time, it leapt straight at him, and for some reason, its booty looked way chunkier mid-air, like it was trying to add weight to the impact. But to the creature's horror, our boy was too fast. He dodged with ease, spun around, and grabbed it by the ears like he was picking up a plush toy. Grinning, he muttered, "You think I didn't sense your fat-ass hop from the start?" He'd already picked up its presence using Life Magnetic Field. Wasting no more time, he crushed its skull with his bare hands. As the creature's body disintegrated, a magic core dropped out. Our boy picked it up and immediately recognized it. Average quality, probably worth around 1,000 yuan. Not bad for a few minutes of walking and one rabbit fatality. Especially since most people bust their backs for a whole month just to make 3,000 to 4,000. Still, collecting too many first-rank beast cores wasn't worth the time. He needed something stronger. And as if the world heard him loud and clear, a massive worm-looking beast appeared right next to him. It was a second-rank demon corpse bug. Just seeing it made our boy's eyes light up. This was more like it. Without wasting a breath, he started unsheathing his blade, ready to turn this overgrown maggot into minced meat. With that, he leapt straight at the damn thing, weapon in hand, and managed to land a heavy hit on the overgrown insect. But before he could even turn around properly, the beast had already curled up like Sonic on crack and came rolling at him full speed. Realizing this wasn't enough to put it down, our boy activated his martial arts technique. And boom, a Kamehameha-looking blast slammed straight into the creature's gut, stopping it mid-charge. He thought it was over until the damn bug launched its mandibles like missiles and our boy barely managed to dodge. But even then, the damn thing ripped right through his outfit, the same one he paid a fortune for. And that was the last straw. Something in him snapped. He was done playing. Since the previous owner of this body never trained properly, he knew it wouldn't be able to handle full power for long. So, with no other option, he activated Mad Dimola's Emperor Demon bloodline. In seconds, his body started to transform. His limbs twisted into the fanged arms of the Mad Demon. His power level jumped from 15 to 21 just like that. Meanwhile, the beast had already lunged at him with its mouth wide open. But this time, our boy didn't flinch. He charged straight into its mouth, dove into the belly of the beast, literally, and started shredding it from the inside like a blender set to max. And then, just when the thing thought it could stomach him, he ripped his way out through its butt. With his overall physique skyrocketing to 21 points, he completely crushed the Tier 2 corpse demon bug. But once he deactivated the transformation, the backlash kicked in. His body was burning up like a jet engine and he had to release the excess heat just to stay conscious. And to make things worse, his short sword, the one he just bought for 2.5 million, got corroded by the corpse bug's venom. A weapon that expensive couldn't even handle a Tier 2 monster. What a scam. Terrible quality control. 1-star review incoming. On top of that, all that energy used had left him starving, and of course, he forgot to bring food. As he stood there trying to figure out what to do next, he caught a delicious smell drifting through the air. His stomach growled. No way, following the scent, he tracked it to the magic core the demon bug dropped. For a second, I really thought he was about to eat the bug's remains. It turns out, the magic core itself was the source of the aroma. Without a second thought, he swallowed it whole. The moment it entered his body, the core began to get absorbed instantly. Outside, his body started emitting waves of energy, and right then, a system notification popped up informing him his compatibility increased from 7% to 7.3%. His eyes widened in shock. That tiny green magic core boosted his compatibility by 0.3%, and just like that, his excitement turned into pure pain. To think he spent hundreds of thousands on a genetic potion just to get a 1% boost. 3 or 4 of these random drops were worth more than that damn potion. Bro was living proof that pay to win doesn't always win. So to turn his frustration to motivation, he decided to hunt monsters to his heart's content. With that, he activated Life Field ability, tracking all the monsters in the vicinity. Fast forward to the next afternoon, our boy came out of the portal with his compatibility reaching to 9%, and his overall physique to 15.8, and after reaching 9%, consuming more white magic cores wasn't increasing his compatibility anymore, so he decided to trade them for money instead. As he appeared in front of the lady at the counter with all his loot, the woman was left speechless seeing how many stones a high school student managed to collect in a single trip. As our sparkling idiot stood there brimming with pride, the female informed him that according to the government's regulations, martial artists must submit 1/10 of their loot, so he needed to hand in 5 white ones, which left him with 200,000 credits left in hand. Fast forward, 9 days left until the college entrance exam. We are shown a bunch of thug-looking adventurers arguing about a blood jade flower bounty they failed to complete last time they entered a rift. One of their guys got injured. Now they were stuck with only 5 members. And by regulation, you need 6 to enter a D-class secret realm. Their party leader, Lin He, a tier 2 martial artist, contacted an agency to get them a 6th member. And guess who showed up? Our sparkling fool. Since he was still a student and nowhere near qualified to enter a D-class realm, he went the shady route, paid 100,000 credits to an illegal agency to get a fake identity. And yeah, it was a total ripoff. But what's done is done. He pulled up with fake documents and the team looked him up and down. He looked way too young, and the name on his ID was also suspicious. Yeah, even they were confused. But desperate times, desperate hires. They let it slide for now. Still, with only martial disciple level 9 strength, Lin He gave him the classic stay out of the way speech. Don't cause trouble, just observe. With that, all of them jumped into the jeep and started heading toward the rift. After coming out the other side, our boy was surprised. This time the place looked like a straight-up desert. Last time he ended up in a forest, so this pretty much confirmed it. These secret realms weren't part of one connected world. Each one was its own thing. As he was still thinking that over, Lin He spoke up saying their trackers showed the blood jade flower was located in an oasis up ahead, guarded by a tier 2 monster with a general level bloodline. As they made their way there, a bunch of earth demon rats suddenly popped up and started chasing after the jeep. Without flinching, a party member named Hood jumped in. Dude pulled out a handful of throwing knives, launched them at the incoming swarm, and Boone nailed several clean shots. But that wasn't even the best part. In the very next second, all the knives exploded. The entire rat pack got wiped out in one move. Our boy just stared, genuinely impressed. Man was cold with it. Eventually, they arrived near the oasis, a bright patch of green in the middle of all that sand. But for some reason, instead of driving all the way there, they got out and started walking. Our boy was confused. We got a jeep. Why are we walking? Lin He explained casually, the monsters near the oasis are sound sensitive. We drive in, we alert everything. And that was something they can't afford right now. While walking, Lin He started handing out tasks for everyone. Xiao Xiaoye was in charge of throwing a stun grenade to lure the beast out. Xiao Wu and Hood were on trap duty. Old Liu would hang back and provide support fire. Lin He himself would take the front line. And as for our boy, he got the most important role of all. Stay out of the way and don't screw anything up. Classic. Once everyone was in position, Xiao Xia lobbed the stun grenade into the air, but this wasn't your average flashbang. Thing was loaded with high-level monster pheromones, designed to trigger territorial rage, and rage it did. Just like clockwork, a massive beast burst out from under the sand. Tier 2 Earth Dragon. Not a real dragon, but definitely had the attitude. It didn't even hesitate. Thing roared and charged straight toward the squad like it just heard someone insult its mother. Meanwhile, someone else was approaching the area from another direction. He stopped near the old battlefield and noticed the wreckage. Specifically, the throwing knives Hood had used to obliterate those rats earlier. He picked one up, grinned like a man who's never done anything legal in his life. A crazy-looking baldy, eyes twitching, and yeah, dude definitely wasn't there to make friends. Meanwhile, back at the oasis, the team had just managed to decapitate the giant earth dragon, its massive body crashing to the ground with a quake. Seeing the sight, everyone started cheering. They'd done it. They finally managed to take down a tier 2 monster. But just as they let their guard down, plot twist. The headless body suddenly came back to life, lunged forward, and swung its massive claw straight at Lin He. He had zero time to dodge. Luckily for him, they'd brought our boy along, and our boy, he wasn't about to just stand there. He leapt straight into the air, charged up, and blasted a full-power Kamehameha right into the thing's back. Boom, one hit, clean kill. The whole party stood there, jaws on the floor. How the hell did a martial novice pull off something that insane? Seconds later, they were all swarming him, showering him with praise like he just saved the world. With the Earth Dragon finally dead for real, they harvested the soul essence from its body, the rare item they'd come all this way for. And standing a bit off to the side, our boy was just staring, mouth watering. The thing smelled divine, and he knew if he ate it, it'd crank his compatibility up big time. But before he could even start scheming chaos, Hood, the same guy who casually blew up rats earlier, suddenly stabbed Lin He in the back. The whole party froze in shock. No one moved, no one spoke. They just stared, and then Hood leapt back, landing beside a new figure, the same shady Baldy from before. Turns out Hood was working for him all along. Our boy had no idea what was going on, so he asked if they know who that Baldy was, and here's Xiao Wu telling him that it was Huo Peng, a bandit who robs martial artists in secret realms. If you find loot and he finds you, it's his now. Meanwhile, Lin He had already figured out the dagger was poisoned, but more importantly, he couldn't stop thinking, how the hell did Huo Peng know they were here? Even his own teammates had only found out about the location of Blood Jade Flower after entering the dungeon, but our boy knew exactly how. Hood had used those knives to embed the info in the dirt while taking out those rats. Seeing how quickly he figured it out, Hood was honestly impressed. But somehow he already knew about our boy's true identity, that he was still in school, prepping for the college entrance exams. So he chuckled and told him to leave this business to the adults. But our boy wasn't intimidated one bit. He looked the man dead in the eye and said, "I'm aiming for a top score in the exam." There was no way he was going to run from a weakling like him. That line hit hard. Hood snapped. Wasting no time, he threw a dagger straight at our boy, but to his horror, our boy caught it midair with 2 fingers. Seeing how a lowlife like him was acting up in front of him, our boy prepares to go all out and finish him off. By then, the Baldy Huo Peng was also getting curious about our boy, so he gave the signal to Hood to finish him off. As soon as the order dropped, Hood went off, started hurling a barrage of mana-infused knives like he was spamming a special move. But our boy just opened his mouth and let out a roar so strong it shattered every single blade mid-flight. Dust settled. Silence. But Hood, gone. Our boy barely had a second to react before Hood appeared out of nowhere, right behind him, ready to finish it with a brutal flying kick. But our boy didn't even flinch. He just placed 2 fingers on his forehead and after charging, he fired off a laser blast that burned straight through Hood's chest. With that attack, he one-shotted the fool. Everyone stood there stunned, watching Hood's motionless body smash into the ground like a rag doll. Even Huo Peng was shocked seeing a kid using a gene technique. In his rage, he asked what great family he belonged to. But our boy just flashed him an evil grin, because now it was his turn. But before jumping in, our boy informed the fool he was from the Demonra clan and asked if he was planning on begging for forgiveness now. And that was all it took to piss him off. Huo Peng's body started glowing as he channeled everything he had, and just like that, man turned into Marvel's Abomination, minus the copyright. He activated his bloodline, Tyrant Black Bear, huge, hulking, ugly as sin. Without wasting a second, the dude lunged forward with a move called Peak Shaker. Our boy, not even sweating, he crouched low, blasted the guy's knee with a laser. The bald beast went nuts, started spinning like a Beyblade on steroids. But by then, our boy was already in the air. Didn't matter though, the bear freak was fast. In a blink, he leaped into the sky too, ready to squash him like a bug. And he did. Hulk smash. Shockwaves tore through the air. But plot twist. Our boy had been holding back the whole time. By the time Big Ugly realized it, he was already behind him. No delay, our boy activated Core Fusion, mountain-crushing fists, and unleashed hell. A storm of punches one after another, so fast, so heavy, the guy didn't even get a chance to dodge. By the end of it, old Baldy was barely breathing, body broken, face wrecked, couldn't even move a muscle. Everyone froze after that insane beatdown. But the one most shocked, Baldy himself. Still twitching, he started cursing our boy out, accusing him of using toxic gas mid-fight to slow him down. That's why he wasn't able to move properly. But our boy just stood there, not giving a damn in the world, looking down on him like dirt. Toxic gas? Please. Excuses like that won't even scratch my ego. You think you're special? Bro, I've had nobody's curse me out all week. You're just another name on the pile. Not even worth top billing on my blacklist. And just like that, boom, lights out. The story fast forwards to the day of the martial arts tournament. The announcer's voice booms through the stadium, welcoming everyone. We're told that the college entrance exam uses a competition system. Students face off in one-on-one matches and the winner moves on. The whole thing runs for 3 days. The first 2 days are auditions. Every student fights in 3 matches. Win enough and you advance. On the 3rd day, the real showdown begins. The top students go head-to-head, climbing the ranks until one is crowned this year's top scorer. The pressure? Off the charts. With that, the announcer kicked off the tournament. The matches started blazing across the arenas. Arena 1, 2 muscleheads throwing haymakers like it was personal. Arena 4, a martial arts chick going toe-to-toe with a bulky brute. But Arena 6, dead silent. Just one person standing in the middle, arms crossed waiting, and guess who her opponent is? Yeah, our boy who failed to show up. And according to the rules, if he didn't step into the ring before the timer hit 0, automatic forfeit. And his opponent? Guess who? Wang Xing, who was furious after being humiliated by him during the genetic conference. So she came here with full power to repay our boy for all the embarrassment she had to endure. She wanted smoke, and instead she got stood up. The crowd wasn't any happier. They were already calling him a coward, probably hiding at home, too scared to show his face. With time officially up, the ref raised his hand. Match abandoned, forfeit. And just like that, our boy was already losing without even stepping into the ring. But wait, people started sensing something wild heading straight for the arena. Looking up, they saw a cloud of smoke descending from the sky. Only it wasn't a cloud. It was our boy, flying in at Mach 4 straight toward the stage like a damn meteor. Boom, he crash-landed with an entrance so loud it rattled the stands. Wang Xing, she just stood there, stunned. Girl was not ready for this. She came to the tournament burning with revenge, all hyped up to repay the humiliation from the Gene conference. But before her tiny brain could even process what was happening, wham, a foot appeared right in front of her face, and the next second, she was airborne, launched clean across the arena like a rag doll. Our boy didn't even let her react. Bro was just glad he didn't miss his match, cause failing to show would have meant redoing this whole college entrance thing next year. Meanwhile, Wang Xing was out cold, lying on her back with drool leaking from the side of her mouth. Even the crowd erupted in cheers along with the announcer, who was hyped, declaring our boy the winner after a single hit. Meanwhile, our boy stood there in the middle with a creepy grin on his face. Apparently, he was able to get the blood jade fruit that the party harvested from the dragon. But absorbing such a power took him a lot of time, which is why he was so late to the tournament. But thanks to all that effort, he managed to reach 20% compatibility. With that, the second match starts and our boy wipes the floor with the opponent with just one kick. Same thing in the third match. The opponent was no match to our boy's strength, and our boy made quick work of him. By then, the whole arena was cheering for him since he was taking out every opponent that came in his path with nothing but one attack. Fast forward, he was seen surrounded from all sides by the scouts from schools from all around the country. Since he managed to win all 3 matches without any effort, they wanted to scout him for themselves. But even though the offers were tempting, our boy wasn't interested, and he proudly declared that the only college he wanted to join was Huadu University. As soon as those words left his lips, everyone simply started walking away, thinking this guy was full of himself. There was no way he could join such a prestigious college with such power. Hearing all that chatter, our boy wasn't exactly thrilled. But he decided to just ignore them for now and show them what he was capable of with his fists. Just as he was about to walk away, he gets approached by 2 men in black suits who were there to reevaluate his martial arts level. After a couple of seconds, the results were out, and the man's jaw almost hit the floor seeing what the machine was showing him. He was already at the 9th level of martial arts. Seeing his expressions, our boy asks if they were accusing him of cheating, and here's the man saying something like that shouldn't be possible since he was just at level 3 half a month ago, and improving so rapidly was just physically impossible. They also did some digging on him and found out that he had been frequently visiting E-level secret realms and asked if that had something to do with his strength, and why he was visiting such a dangerous place before his college entrance. And our boy wasted no time jumping into full drama mode. He looked the man dead in the eyes and said, "It was my father's dying wish. He left me one message before he passed. If you want to surpass humanity, then don't be human." That answer was so cringe. Even the guy questioning him paused. Bro, what? But what our fool said next shocked both men even more, as they heard him saying he managed to achieve a breakthrough in his own genetic lock. That news was so shocking they didn't even bother grilling him further. They just started sprinting back to report this to their superiors. Fast forward, our boy was back in his room watching the tournament highlights on the news. Parents, siblings, even random uncles, all cheering like their kid just won the world. Despite doing so damn well in the tournament, there was no one out there cheering for him. That stung more than any punch he'd taken in the ring. But little did he know there was someone out there who had been cheering for him from the start. Yeah, it was his teacher. The one who always acted strict, barely cracked a smile, but never missed a single match. The story fast forwards and it was already the next day of the promotion round, where our boy was to face off against an opponent named Lu Xuan. And unlike his other opponents, this guy was said to be strong, since he got first place amongst those from his middle school and had awakened a rare 2nd-level magical beast bloodline. But our boy wasn't impressed with any of that and even told the kid he can have the first move. And that angered the opponent since he was being looked down upon. With that, he decides to finish the fight quickly and activates his bloodline from the very start to make quick work of our boy. Wasting no time, he activates his martial art, dashing lightning claw, and leaps straight toward our boy intending to end him. But our boy didn't flinch. He casually grabbed the incoming claws with 0 effort, leaving Lu Xuan stunned. Then, with a slight squeeze, he made it clear this was over before it began. Seeing him on his knees, our hero decided not to waste any more time on this weakling. He raises his hand to finish the fight quickly and slams it onto his back so hard that the boy literally gets buried into the ground. With that one hit, our boy was declared the winner of that round. Same story, social media exploded, the crowd went wild, everyone losing their minds watching him one-shot every opponent that dared step in front of him. Meanwhile, the poor kid was being dragged out of the arena on a stretcher, while another person watches everything in silence. Guess who? It It was Luo Shidi who was looking forward to facing off against our boy in the final round. Meanwhile, in the live broadcast room of Huadu University's admissions office, our boy had caught the attention of someone who orders everyone present in the room to get him all the information on that kid within 30 minutes. The scene shifts back to the arena, where the second group's advancement matches were in full swing. It was a battle between two genius beauties. First, Kai Xiaoling, known as the Queen of Anqing's second senior high, and facing her was Liu Qingzhu, the unattainable flower of Anqing first senior high. With that, the match officially starts, and Kai Xiaoling wastes no time. She leaps straight toward Liu Qingzhu, aiming to end it fast. But seeing her coming, Liu calmly activates her skill, Sutra of Transient Splendor. A glowing barrier forms in front of her just in time, blocking the incoming kick. Kai gets bounced back, but she lands on her feet like a pro, and uses that same momentum to charge back in, this time with Howling Gale Step. But it happens again. Liu Qingzhu activates the same ability and blocks the attack. Only this time, instead of bouncing off, Kei's hand gets trapped inside the swirling air currents. She's left completely defenseless, and before she can even think of a way out, Liu launches a follow-up strike meant to end the fight. Everyone's stunned. That wasn't just some flashy move. It was a Xuanwang-level technique, the kind only true masters could pull off. Realizing she might actually lose if that attack landed, Kai Xiaoling goes full beast mode, activates her third-tier royal bloodline, and transforms into a tiger. Using that power boost, she breaks free and leaps back to put some distance between them. Confident in her comeback, she demands Liu Qingzhu transform too, so they can fight on equal footing. But to her shock, Liu Qingzhu straight up refuses, says she's more than enough to take her down just like this. That pisses Kai Xiaoling off. Furious, she charges in with full power, claws burning with fire to end the match. But Liu dodges, smooth, effortless, graceful. But Kai Xiaoling wasn't done, and she throws another attack. But even that was ineffective, and Liu Qingzhu manages to dodge it as well. But that leaves an opening for Kai Xiaoling, so she uses her ability Crippling Kick and aims straight toward her legs. Seeing that, Liu Qingzhu activates Jade Finger and blocks the incoming strike with nothing but a single finger. Boom! The whole arena gets swallowed up in a massive explosion. Dust and debris go flying everywhere. The suspense was brutal. The crowd held their breath, waiting to see who came out on top. As the dust started to clear, they saw Kai Xiaoling, still on her feet, standing tall on the arena floor. It looked like she had won. But just as the ref was about to declare her the victor, everyone saw her eyes rolling back from the sheer exhaustion. As she started dropping to the ground, everyone saw Liu Qingzhu appearing from the dust cloud, standing calm and composed, not a scratch on her, having won the match using nothing but clean martial techniques. After a while, the top 8 advancement tournament draw ceremony began to decide who'd be facing who. First up was our boy. He reached into the box and pulled out a ball. It had the letter A on it. He turned and saw a towering behemoth of a man holding up a ball with the same letter. Yep, that was his next opponent. The guy introduced himself as Shen Guan from Qingfeng Private High. After the introductions, Shen Guan casually suggested they watch the first match together since there was still time before their own match kicked off. And our boy agreed. On the screen was Luo Shi, absolutely overpowered. He wiped the floor with his opponent like it was nothing, and cruised straight into the next round. Watching that, our boy got a little curious and turned to Shen Guan, asking if he had to face off against that guy, how well does he think he would do? Shen Guan, acting all humble, informed our boy that he was the president of their martial arts club, senior year level. In terms of combat power, even if 2 of his teammates ganged up on him, they still wouldn't be able to take him down. But deep down, Shen Guan knew the truth. The only real threat in this entire tournament was our boy. He could sense it, that raw, untamed power bubbling under the surface, like a dormant volcano just waiting to blow, and inside it, a damn monster itching to get out. He suggested that both of them head to the arena since it was their turn now. With that, both men stood face to face, waiting for the referee to start their match, and as soon as the signal was given, both men wasted no time and threw punches towards each other with all their might. In terms of strength, both of them proved equal, and the energy released by their fists colliding started shattering ground underneath their feet. Shockwaves blasted through the arena, so strong that even the crowd had trouble staying on their feet due to the sheer intensity from their energies colliding. But Shen Guan noticed his nose bleeding for some reason and realized that this was because of Yi Ye's ability and understood that somehow it was targeting the cells in his body from the inside out. But he didn't know how, so he covered his body using his martial energy to create a barrier. Seeing him do that, our boy was truly impressed. He knew his radiation would have no effect on him anymore, but he was equally excited, since this person in front of him was the first opponent he had faced in this tournament who was proving to be a monster not to be trifled with. By then, Shen Guan had already activated one of his family's inherited techniques. He stacked multiple boosts onto his body, pushing his physical stats to the absolute limit and leaped straight towards our boy. His movement speed was so fast that our boy's eyes weren't able to keep up with him. And before he could react, boom, a clean hit to the gut. The impact was so brutal that red liquid started gushing out of our boy's mouth, but it was still far from enough to take him down. He tanked the damage and managed to land back on his feet, but he noticed that the impact had done a lot of damage to his body. But before he could even catch his breath, Shen Guan was already coming in with another move, Bear Crush. Our boy barely managed to block it, but that's when he realized something way worse. Shen Guan wasn't just relying on brute strength. He was weaving his martial energy into every strike, causing damage on both the outside and inside of his body. Before our boy could even think of a way out, he saw Shen Guan's arm twist like a snake. And the next thing he knew, he was caught. Locked in the guy's grip, his entire body started getting crushed like a soda can. That's when Shen Guan dropped the real bomb. Not only could he infuse his body with martial energy, he could also lock his opponent's martial energy. Meaning, his opponent's internal flow gets sealed. They can't use any martial arts. Basically, our boy was in a world of hurt. Wasting no time, Shen Guan used Ape Hurl to launch our boy into the air, like he was tossing a ragdoll. And before gravity could even catch up, he activated Tiger's Pounce, leaping up after him like a damn predator. In midair, he slashed down hard, a clean hit, blood sprayed everywhere. But that wasn't all. Right after the slash, he activated Eagle Dive, plummeting straight down at full speed, and both of them crashed back onto the arena floor with a force so violent, it triggered a full-blown explosion, resulting in the entire place shaking rapidly. After some time, Shen Guan appeared from the dust, still unharmed. Seeing this, the medical staff instantly started rushing towards the arena to check up on our boy, because after getting hit by that combo, not even an ordinary martial artist could survive. But just as they were about to declare Shen Guan the winner, a massive surge of aura erupted from the arena and a voice echoed out, praising Shen Guan's strength. As the dust began to clear, they saw our boy, fully transformed after awakening his bloodline. His entire body was now covered in scales, and even the crowd was left in shock. This wasn't like the ordinary transformations they'd seen so far. This was the embodiment of a magical beast. Shen Guan himself was shitting bricks. He could tell just how screwed he was. That nosebleed from earlier, it finally clicked. It wasn't from a punch or pressure, it was radiation, straight up leaking out of our boy's body. And now, seeing him fully transformed like that, Shen Guan knew it was his turn to get absolutely wrecked. The people in charge of the tournament suddenly got hit with a disturbing alert. Radiation levels had spiked hard. At first, they thought it was a system error, but after double-checking the data, their faces turned pale. The nuclear radiation in that section of the arena was off the charts, way beyond safety limits, so they wasted no time and covered the whole arena with martial energy to prevent it from leaking. The crowd was just as confused, since this was their first time seeing a transformation such as this, and wondered how could such a powerful monster be unknown. Hearing their words, our boy realized that Demora was an unknown creature on this planet, and no one knew anything about it. Meanwhile, Shen Guan was lost in his own world. His martial arts wasn't able to shield him from the radiation anymore, and his body was getting weaker with every second. Realizing he can't drag this fight any longer, he activates his own bloodline awakening and transforms into his beast form to finish this quickly. Wasting no time, Shen Guan combined all his martial techniques to boost his body strength even further and launched himself straight toward our boy like a human missile. But our boy was ready. Calm as ever, he activated his own martial art, Mountain Arresting Fist, and with a single motion, unleashed a wave of raw energy straight at him. The moment the blast connected with Shen Guan's arm, it was over. The impact hit like a freight train, and everyone watching could almost hear it, bone after bone snapping apart under the sheer pressure. His entire arm started shattering piece by piece from fingers to shoulder, as if it had been run through a grinder. Seeing this, any hope of winning Shen Guan had vanished as he saw our hero walking towards him to finish the fight. But for some reason, Shen Guan instantly got back in his fighting stance, ready to try and take him on with his remaining good hand. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the same fight anymore. Now that Yi had awakened his bloodline, he wasn't able to suppress his martial energy anymore, which meant from this point on, Yi will fight him at full power. As he was distracted with all that, our boy had already lunged towards him, and wasting no time, he started delivering a barrage of attacks on Shen Guan's body and managed to drop him to the ground. But little did he know, this was Shen Guan's plan all along. He turns his hand into a snake once more and manages to wrap it around Yi's wrist. In that split-second opening, Shen Guan wasted no time. He launched himself up, twisted, and moved straight to Yi's back, aiming to lock him down and end it before things got worse. But our boy wasn't falling for the same trick twice. The moment Shen Guan went for the grab, he leapt high into the air, and what Shen Guan saw next nearly gave him a heart attack. A gigantic foot, like it belonged to some ancient beast, came crashing down from above. At the last second, Shen Guan barely dodged, but the impact still blew out a massive chunk of the arena, reducing it to rubble. When the dust settled, there he was, our boy standing tall, both legs buried halfway into the cracked ground from the force, and now it was his turn to attack. With that, he gathered up all his energy to put it into this final attack that would decide the match's outcome. But just as he was about to land the hit, he saw Shen Guan falling on his knees for some reason, and in the very next second, bam! He had his head pressed against the ground, forfeiting the match. This shocked our boy so much, and he was fuming with anger. After taking hit after hit, getting tossed, slammed, crushed, and finally getting the upper hand, the bastard gives up. Yeah, our boy was fuming, straight up robbed of his moment, but he had no other choice. Rules were rules. If one side surrendered, the other wasn't allowed to land another hit. So our boy had to suck it up and transform back into his human form. Still pissed though. That match didn't end how he wanted. Meanwhile, the crowd screaming like maniacs. The energy in the arena was insane after witnessing a fight like that, and on social media, the memers were already on it. Shen Guan's before and after pics were spreading like wildfire. Guy went from final boss to floor mat in under a minute. If there was one person who wasn't happy how things turned out, it was the chairman of Qingfeng Private High, who was fuming with anger after seeing Shen Guan lose to someone from a nobody school. Seeing him approaching, the man loses it and lashes out, reminding him they spent a fortune on his training and he just forfeited the match just like that, and reminds him he now needed to pay back the school for everything they spent on him. But Shen Guan just calmly placed a hand on the chairman's shoulder and, with a calm voice, explains that he had no other choice since he knew his body couldn't handle that next hit, and if he had took it head on he'd be crippled, maybe dead. So to prevent further damage, he forfeited and assures him not to worry, since he will slowly repay all the money the school invested in him over time. But before leaving, he reminded the man that he shouldn't threaten a warrior who is stronger than him. That line alone was enough to make the old man feel his knees go soft. With that, the top four were officially locked in. These were the ones who'd battle it out in the finals for the top spot. And yep, our boy was one of them. Seeing his name up there among the finalists, the principal of his school was so pleased that he on the spot decided to promote old Liu and give him a raise. By then, our boy was already picking balls to see who his next opponent was going to be, and guess who it turned out to be? The beauty herself, Liu Qingzhou. With that, the matchups were officially set, and the audience was brimming with excitement to see who would come out on top. Social media was going absolutely insane. This was the most hyped showdown since the exam started. Some were betting on Liu Qingzhou, claiming she had the edge. After all, she'd already mastered 2 mysterious royal martial arts and used them to beat Kai Shaoling, even when she was in her beast form. That wasn't something to take lightly. But then there was our boy, the wild card. His performance so far, spectacular, one-shotting opponents like it was nothing. And let's not forget, his bloodline was still a mystery. No one knew what to expect, and that uncertainty had people hooked. The stage was set, the stakes were high, and both sides had something to prove. With that, both combatants stood face to face on the arena, where the referee officially starts the match between both of them. As soon as the signal was given, our boy didn't hesitate, since he knew this time the opponent was no ordinary martial artist, and activated his trump card from the get-go. That somewhat surprises the girl, but she was not intimidated in the slightest. And before she knew it, she found herself standing face to face with the king of the beasts. Well, almost. He was still in human form. Turns out the transformation wasn't for intimidation. It was strategy. He needed time, since he knew her martial arts were on a whole different level, and no matter how strong his power was, if he couldn't land a hit, it would mean jack. Not just that, but she possessed a very high battle IQ, meaning the longer this fight dragged on, the worse it was going to get for him. Thinking that, he appeared out of the smoke to surprise attack her using his mountain-arresting fist. But the girl was too fast, and she instantly created a barrier between them to block the attack. But little did she know that was all part of our boy's strategy, and he instantly changed stance and delivered a powerful blow to her from the side. The attack was powerful, but the girl was also resilient, and she somersaulted herself to safety. But the King of Beasts wasn't going to let her go so easily, and he instantly leaped straight towards her once more, not giving her any time to recover, and forced the poor girl to block that attack using her body. With that, a brutal beatdown began, followed by hateful comments from the viewers criticizing our boy for using such cheap tricks to fight his opponent. But our boy wasn't paying attention to any of that noise. He wasn't here to impress the audience. He was here to win, so he kept on pushing her back using nothing but brute strength. Seeing her getting launched away like that, the audience thought this was her chance to recover and fight back. But no way that was happening. He instantly fired off a massive slash of energy straight toward her. She saw it coming and knew right away, blocking something like that was a no-go. So instead, she leaped into the air and dodged the attack entirely. And the moment she got a look at the sheer destructive power behind that attack, she froze, stunned, but that split-second distraction cost her. Before she could react, our boy had already closed the gap between them, and just like that, it was back to the flurry of attacks. Liu Qingzhou was forced to block every hit with her body, and while she held her ground at first, the damage was starting to pile up fast. Every impact was taking a toll, and she wondered if this guy's stamina even has a limit. She knew she could easily defeat him if she used her martial arts, but the problem was she needed time to use them, and he wasn't giving her that time. With that, she was forced to the edge of the arena, and she knew she wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer, and falling off this stage meant defeat. But she wasn't planning on losing in such a manner. So with no other choice, she was forced to use her own trump card. And our boy saw her pupils changing shape and something appeared in front of his fists, blocking his attacks. Before he knew it, the girl was in the air, using her bloodline awakening called Nether Bird, and he saw her completely transformed in her beast form. The entire arena went wild. This was the first time they had seen her use this ability. But the girl wasn't planning on wasting time, and she warned our boy not to hold back, since she wasn't able to control her strength in this form. And that actually hyped up our boy, since up until now he had been using only 50% of his strength, but now he can go all out and show everyone what he was capable of. But before he could even finish that sentence, Liu appeared behind him like a flash of light, and not giving him any time to react, she activated her offensive martial arts called Manhwa Jade Finger. Seeing this, our boy activates Atomic Blast Fist and decided to face her full might head-on. With that, both warriors' fists clashed, shattering everything around them. The sheer force of their clash sent a jolt through the arena, the kind that made your spine tingle just from watching. Even the audience, sitting way off in the distance, were nearly blown away by the shockwaves. But as it stopped, Liu Qingzhu found herself getting pushed back and almost got launched out of the arena. But she managed to stop herself. But as she turned towards our boy, what she saw made her freeze. Our boy was surging with an overwhelming amount of energy. The ground trembled beneath him, and the entire arena was shaking like it was about to collapse. Seeing this sight, Liu Qingzhu knew that this energy fluctuation she was feeling was not a good sign. And not just that, but his transformation was changing. The protruding spine on his back was pulling energy from all around him, gathering power like a living core. Before she could fully process what was happening, all that energy gathering around Huaiji's body suddenly focused near his mouth. Then boom! A massive atomic breath beam roared out, tearing through the air straight toward her. Just the sound alone was enough to make her heart skip. This wasn't some flashy light show. This was destruction in its purest form. Thinking fast, she curled her body inside her wings, activating her latent ability, awakening just in time. Her wings formed a cocoon of feathers, trying to block the beam. But Yi wasn't letting up. He kept pouring power into the attack, burning through her defense like a blowtorch through paper. The pressure was insane. Her barrier started cracking. With no other choice, she redirected all the energy she had left to deflect the beam outward, sending the blast skyward in a desperate gamble to avoid getting obliterated. All those energy beams that got deflected didn't just disappear. They went flying straight toward the audience like heat-seeking missiles. No one had time to react. Panic set in, people started screaming, bracing for impact. But just before the beams could hit, a massive barrier flared up in front of the stands, absorbing every last blast like it was nothing. And from within the golden shimmer of that shield, a man in a sharp suit appeared, who turned out to be the mayor of the city himself. Turns out he wasn't just there for the show. He came to witness firsthand the rise of the strongest champion in the city's history. Seeing the mayor step in like that, the audience and even the judges couldn't hold back. They erupted in cheers. The whole stadium shook with applause. But back in the arena, things were dead silent. Liu Qingzhu was still standing, but just barely. Her wings were burned to a crisp. Her breath was ragged. She was battered, drained, and unable to believe what had just happened. The Netherbird bloodline was known for its unbreakable defense, but this guy? He broke through it like it was paper, with just one strike, and she wondered if she can even beat someone like him. With that, the scene shifted into a quiet flashback, one painted with pressure, pain, and silent determination. From a young age, Liu Qingzhu had been burdened with a single mission: revive the honor of her fallen family. And the one behind that weight? Her mother. She wasn't some loving figure who made sacrifices, she was the one who forced it all on her. From the moment Liu Qingzhu could walk, she was drilled, pushed, and shaped into a weapon. No breaks, no childhood, no room for mistakes, just cold training and suffocating expectations, all for a future she never asked for. A future built on someone else's broken pride. And for her, losing wasn't an option. It never had been. Back in the present, standing in the broken arena with her wings burned and body trembling, Liu Qingzhu wasn't just fighting Yihei anymore. She was fighting all those memories crashing back at once. But looking at him, she knew, no matter what she did, there was no way she could beat him. Still, all that trauma from her childhood wasn't about to let her back down now. Even if it meant dying here, at least it would finally be her choice. Her way out of this cursed life. With that resolve burning in her chest, she charged straight at him. If he wasn't going to end it, she'd force him to. And just like that, she landed a clean, direct hit on his chest. But what stunned her wasn't the attack, it was him. He didn't move, didn't even lift a hand to defend himself. With a trembling voice, she asked, "Why didn't you try to dodge?" But instead of answering, he just looked at her and asked, what happened to her fighting spirit? That one question hit harder than any punch she'd taken. She froze. Then came the next blow. "Why aren't you looking me in the eye anymore?" With that, he charged forward, shouting that he was going to win this title fair and square. Seeing him come at her like that, the girl froze, and the next second, a brutal punch landed square on her face, knocking her to the ground. Standing over her, he glared down, saying he wanted her to face him with everything she's got. And if she won't bring that resolve out herself, he'll beat it out of her. Then came the ground and pound. Fist after fist crashing down straight on her face, not to humiliate, but to push her to her breaking point. The girl was clearly confused, since she was handing him the win willingly, but for some reason he still wanted to fight her, so she asked the reason. But our boy kept on beating her up, and hearing no answer, something snapped in her, and out of nowhere, A new power exploded out of her body as she calls him an a-hole for hitting a girl on her face. This was exactly what our boy wanted, and he started smiling. This was exactly what he'd been waiting for. Her true form had finally awakened, a taboo martial art called blood ignition. Her body fully recovered, her aura raging, and the pressure around her shifted completely. With fire in her eyes, she looked him dead in the eyes, telling him to get ready. She was about to defeat him using her full power, just like he asked. Seeing that she wasn't holding back anymore, our boy did the same. He transformed into his beast form and combined his hard skin with hard qigong, his physical skill that fused the Demura template with energy control, known as the nuclear light combat body. With that, he flew straight toward her, hungry for a real fight. Watching him close in, Liu Qingzhu calmly raised her hand, and out of nowhere, a massive tornado erupted in front of her. It was one of her skill called Tearing Hurricane. But our boy didn't stop. He flew straight into it and from within, tore the thing apart like it was nothing. Then activated his explosive fist and charged toward her with everything he had. Seeing him coming, Liu Qingzhu inhaled sharply and let out a powerful screech from her mouth, another one of her defensive abilities. The two attacks collided with ridiculous force, creating shockwaves all around them, but her scream proved just strong enough to push our boy back. That's when he realized he couldn't underestimate her anymore. So he decided to retaliate with his own screaming attack and started gathering up energy in his spine. Seeing him preparing his ultimate move, Liu Qingzhu also dropped all her defenses and poured every ounce of power into her final attack, her family's strongest move. All the energy she had left was focused into a single point, right at the tip of her finger. And then, boom, our boy unleashed his atomic breath. A blinding beam of destruction roared from his mouth, ripping through the air with devastating force, heading straight for her. It was do or die now. Liu Qingzhu didn't hold back either. She launched her final move, Netherworld Bloodthorns, hurling it toward him with everything she had. Both attacks screamed toward each other, and the moment they were about to collide, panic erupted outside the arena. Everyone knew this wasn't just a fight anymore. This was a full-blown detonation waiting to happen. And worst of all, neither of these two monsters had any control over it anymore. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, the mayor had no choice but to step in. He instantly activated his gene technique, and in a flash, 3 massive walls erupted in the middle of the arena. It was a defensive ability known as Divine Leveling Wall, meant to block catastrophic attacks like this. With that, both attacks collided with the wall, shattering it into chunks. The arena went still as the dust began to settle, everyone holding their breath to see what was left behind. Even the mayor looked stunned, seeing that his wall was broken by those two, even though it was an incomplete wall that he had to put up in a hurry. But still, the fact these two managed to break it, that alone spoke volumes. By then, the dust had started to clear up and a bloodied hand dangled into view. It was Liu Qingzhu, whose left arm was completely destroyed after using such a powerful attack, and her power of the magical beasts had also exhausted, meaning this was her true limit. But still, she knew she needed to get back up since she can't lose after coming so far. But before she can, she saw our boy appearing right in front of her from the dust, completely unharmed. Seeing this, she wondered how could this be possible, since she was sure her attack landed directly on him. But there was not even a scratch on his body. But our boy was more concerned about her, since he knew she needed to get rid of that nuclear radiation on her arm. Otherwise, she was going to end up a cripple the rest of her life. That caught her off guard. He was worried about her. Even after everything, she didn't know what to say. Her emotions were spiraling, and before she could stop herself, she snapped, demanding to know why he pushed her so far and forced her into a fight like that. Hearing her question, our boy simply crouched down in front of her, and with a calm voice, he asked if deep down, she didn't want to fight him with her true power either. He asked her to stop being rebellious and admit that she has a competitive fire burning inside her. He told the girl that when both of them were fighting, he felt her desire for victory. Hearing his words, the girl knew he was right. In that moment, all she wanted was to beat him. She even threw away her defenses and poured everything she had in that final attack. And all this was strange for her, because up until now, she hated fighting. That is why she wanted to lose to him as soon as possible. But that fire she felt inside her was real, and that was the first time she truly wanted to win. As she stood there lost in thought, our boy casually placed his hand on her shoulder, snapping her out of it. Her face turned red as a tomato, flustered by how close he was. Then, with a calm voice, he told her that during their fight, she had too many distracting thoughts, and that's why she lost. Before she could respond, he began healing her injured arm using his ability. A warm energy wrapped around it, and in seconds, the damage was completely gone. No scars, no pain, it was back to 100%. And just as he turned to leave, he looked back over his shoulder and said, "By far, you were the strongest opponent I've ever faced. Next time, if we ever meet again, I hope we can have a purist battle." And with that, their match finally came to an end. Standing tall amidst the dust and destruction, our boy looked around and declared himself as the victor of the match. With that, it was finally time for the final round. The spotlight was on. The tension was thick and the entire city was watching. It was our boy versus Luosi, the long-awaited showdown everyone had been hyping since day one. Luosi himself had been itching for this fight the whole damn time. eager to prove himself and settle the score. The moment the match was announced, viewership skyrocketed. Streams, social media, news feeds, everyone was tuned in. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a spectacle. The battle for the crown. As soon as the signal was given, Luoshi wasted no time and started creating clones of himself and started charging towards our boy, doing some weird sword dances. And as soon as he was ready, he threw a bunch of ice shards towards our hero, but our boy didn't even flinch. He simply slammed the ground underneath his feet using explosive fist and destroyed all the projectiles coming his way. Not just that, he even destroyed all the clones that Luoji had created in the process. Seeing the raw power behind that attack, Luoshi instantly realized that going in hand-to-hand combat was a death wish. So Luoji switched tactics and decided to fight him from a distance and exhaust his stamina. Thinking that, he activated his bloodline called Ice Elemental Dragon, and his entire body transformed, cloaked in frost and scales. Wasting no time, he raised his claws and unleashed a powerful ice-based technique. A massive blast of frozen energy surged toward our hero, and within seconds, he was completely sealed inside an ice prison. But that attack came with a price. It put a massive toll on Luoji's body. Just maintaining the transformation drained him, and launching that ice prison pushed him close to his limit. And just when he thought he'd secured the upper hand, he noticed something glowing deep inside the ice. Before he could react, a massive energy wave exploded from within the prison, shattering it like glass. Seeing the wave coming towards him, Luoshi instantly activated his defensive ability to block the thing, but it was no use, as the attack completely obliterated the ice wall. With that, our boy appeared from the ice like an absolute badass, aura surging around him as if he'd just taken a stroll through a blizzard, and tells Luoshi his ice dragon power had never worked on him. He was just testing his power. Hearing those words, Luoji realizes that the gap between their strength was too big. So he decides to use his trump card and tells our boy he only has one move left, which was the limit of his martial arts, a technique so powerful, he had originally saved it for a potential showdown with Liu Qingzhu. With that, he activates his trump card and a massive ice sword manifests in his hand. This wasn't just some flashy move, it was an advanced level ability called Soul Damaging Sword. Even the mayor was left speechless, staring in disbelief. He couldn't believe a kid that young had actually mastered something that dangerous. Wasting no time, Luoshi swung the massive thing straight at our boy, but all it managed to do was leave a tiny cut on his hand. Our boy just looked at him and said, "If you ever get a better sword in the future, maybe then you'll stand a chance." Seeing the sight, Luoshi was left stunned, unable to believe his eyes. Not only did his attack do nothing, but the damn sword itself shattered into pieces. Realizing the situation, he asked our boy how much of a chance he had of winning against him, to which our boy smiled, telling him, about the same as winning the lottery without buying a ticket. Hearing those words, Luoji instantly raised his hand and forfeited the match on the spot. With that, our boy was officially declared the winner of the match. Damn, final round, and it turned out boring as hell. But still, the crowd went wild. Everyone was hyped to see the underdog take the crown. Social media exploded. A complete nobody rising from the bottom and steamrolling his way to the top. That kind of story always hits. The news of his victory spread like wildfire across the city. Back in the arena, the whole place was shaking from all the cheering. The crowd was losing it. Even the mayor himself stepped onto the stage to personally congratulate our boy. These past 3 days have been a complete roller coaster for the participants, the crowd, and everyone watching. With the hype still in the air, the announcer finally approached our boy and asked him to say a few words to the audience. That actually startled him a bit. He hadn't prepared for this part. But still, gathering up his courage, our boy stepped up to the mic and started by thanking his teacher for encouraging him when he was at his lowest point and giving him the motivation to push forward and work harder. Hearing those words, old Liu burst into tears on the spot. He knew that wasn't true. If anything, he had been careless, barely fulfilling his duties as a teacher. But despite that, our boy gave him all the credit, and that hit deep. Meanwhile, the principal wasn't about to let this golden moment slip by, so he started waving like crazy, trying to get our boy's attention. The second he locked eyes, the man sneakily flashed some hand signals, basically telling him to give the school a shout-out, and in return, hook him up with a 2 million won scholarship. Our fool saw that, and his eyes literally turned into dollar signs. Without missing a beat, he switched gears and started praising the headmaster's visionary leadership and unmatched dedication, claiming that none of this would have been possible without him. And finally, he wrapped it up by thanking the most important person of all, himself, for putting in so much work and dedication, without which none of this would have been possible. As soon as he finished his speech, a system notification appeared in front of him, congratulating him for winning the title of #1 scholar, and as a reward, he was going to receive a random template ability. Cut to the stadium corridor. The kid was seen running for his life with reporters and a bunch of school staff chasing after him, but it was no use. He eventually got surrounded, and the first question that flew out of a reporter's mouth had nothing to do with the tournament. It was about the two beauties who fought in the finals, asking which one he thought was prettier, or maybe if he swung the other way and preferred Shen Guan instead. Annoyed and clearly not interested in that nonsense, the kid forced his way free and bolted before these people made things more awkward for him. Fast forward. He finally managed to shake off the reporters tailing him. Alone at last, he decided to check the new template he had gained after the battle. But just as he was about to, a voice called out, congratulating him on winning the top spot in the tournament. Startled, the kid turned and saw a man in glasses standing beside him. Thinking he was just another reporter, the protagonist prepared to run, but the man quickly introduced himself as being from an organization called Hua-Du. Even more surprising, he said he was here to talk about the issue of the kid's genetic locks. Hearing those words, the kid froze. No one was supposed to know about that except himself. On top of that, none of the abilities he used in the tournament had come from his genetic lock at all. They were all from the monster template, which left him wondering. If this person somehow knew about the abilities he possessed before he could ask him anything, the man started talking about the kid's father, and if he was the person who told him about these genetic locks, to which the kid confirmed. Hearing that, the man calmly pulled out some documents from his bag and asked if he had never wondered how his father, an ordinary taxi driver, knew so much about genetic locks when it had nothing to do with his profession. The kid, still clueless as ever, decided to keep his mouth shut and just see where this was going, and saw the man hand him a file, claiming it contained secret information from their organization brought specifically for him. Turns out it was about something called Project Prometheus, a research institute that was once a global giant in biological genetics, but got shut down by multiple countries after a certain incident. Because of that, a large number of its core researchers were forced to hide their identities and scatter all over the world. Reading through the papers, the kid was more confused than ever. According to this strange man, his cheap-ass father wasn't just some taxi driver. He had actually been a senior researcher at Prometheus, and apparently, the kid himself was the result of that secret research. As all that was going through his head, he heard the man telling him not to worry about a thing, since the government wasn't here to threaten him. Rather, they were just here to inform him about the truth. After all, as the person involved, he had the right to know. And now that he was officially part of a national-level cultivation program, his safety was their top priority from here on out. Hearing that he was suddenly some big shot the government wanted to protect, the kid's face lit up right away. If nothing else, this meant his status in the city had just leveled up big time. But then he heard the man saying his farewell and started walking away. Finally alone again, the kid couldn't stop grinning. Not only had he racked up a pile of cash and scored a 2 million scholarship, but now even the government considered him some kind of big shot. On top of that, the most important thing, he could even draw his new template ability. Thinking that, he wasted no time and called forth the system and accepted his reward. A massive portal-looking thing appeared in front of his eyes. The size of the thing terrified the kid, but just then, right before his eyes, all that power gathered around, taking the form of a card. And before he knew it, he found himself standing face to face with the Colossus Titan straight out of Attack on Titan. The thing was massive, but despite its ridiculous size, the template was only D rank. The name, Super Giant Humanoid, while real creative. Still, it came with a bloodline ability of giantification, letting him grow up to 60 meters tall while emitting ultra-heated steam from his body. His compatibility with it, though, was sitting at a measly 1%. As he went through the details, something clicked. He suddenly remembered he could stack abilities between templates, which meant if he combined this one with his Demora template, the result would be an armored giant. In other words, the true king of monsters. The story cuts once more, this time to an individual sitting in the dark while telling someone on the call to cancel all his upcoming schedules since he had some personal matter to deal with. And I'm 99% sure that matter involves our boy, and judging by that face, this man's intentions were far from noble. Recalling his meeting with the search team who went into the secret realm, they weren't able to recover the body of his brother, but they did manage to find some faint traces of nuclear radiation where his brother was believed to be last seen. Turns out this man by the name of Huo Long is actually the older brother of the bald bastard Huo Peng who tried to take out our boy and steal the heart of that dragon from him. And after watching our boy fight in the tournament, he was certain this kid was the one who took out his brother. Fast forward to the next day. Just as the kid was getting ready to head into his next secret realm to test out his new template, he received a letter from someone. Turns out it was from Luo Zi, asking if he wanted to team up for the next secret realm that was about to open in An City. Since the place was believed to be around C rank, Luo Zi wanted to check it out and figured the kid might be interested in going in with him. This sudden invitation from that cocky kid surprised our hero, but what shocked him the most was the fact that in this dying age, the kid was writing him a letter instead of directly calling him on his phone. With that, the story cut to the location, and the place was completely packed with Awakened from all over the city, since everyone wanted to raid the new realm. And in the very back stood our hero, surprised to see such a huge crowd since it meant using his abilities with this many people around was going to be a problem. Just then, he heard a familiar voice calling from behind and saw Luo Zi. To his surprise, the guy immediately pointed out that the kid had gotten stronger again. That threw our boy off for a second, since Luo Zi's senses were sharper than he expected. Not that he was wrong. After all, the prize money from the tournament had gone straight into gene drugs, and our hero had been pumping himself full of them non-stop to raise his new template's compatibility. But deciding to change the subject, he asked Luo Zi if he had decided on a university yet. Turns out the kid, just like him, was aiming for Huadu University, but for some reason our boy noticed his mood dipped when answering that question. But before he could press any further, they heard someone shouting that the rift to the secret realm was starting to open, and before they knew it, they saw a massive three-headed bird-looking creature appearing out of the massive crack. But instead of running away like any normal NPCs in a story, these idiots, pumped full of gene juice, leapt straight towards the massive thing. Even the poor bird monster was terrified seeing all these tiny humans coming towards it, and before the early bird could even blink, it was all over. The hunters sliced through the giant monster without any remorse. With that, the story cuts to the inside of the secret realm, where all the hunters along with our boy had finally entered. After walking for a bit, our boy suddenly noticed the stench of blood coming from not far from their location. Turning to the location, they saw a massive beast tide coming straight at them. And unlike any other normal story, the hunters of this world are crazy bastards, and instead of looking for cover, seeing their numbers, they started charging straight at the overgrown monsters. And just like that, a massacre began, and the humans easily managed to overpower all the incoming monsters with ease. The fight was brutally epic, with everyone showing off their skills and racking up as many kills as possible. In the middle of the fight, one of the creatures managed to sneak up on Luo Zi, but just as the thing was about to bite him to shreds, a powerful laser beam cut past him and blasted the monster into chunks of flesh. Turning toward his savior, he saw it was our boy, but what shocked him even more was the scene behind him. Endless monster corpses stretched out across the field, and even their bones were starting to melt away from the large-scale nuclear radiation attack the kid had unleashed. That was the terrifying part. He wasn't using brute force. He was using something completely silent, nearly impossible to resist, and deadly at the cellular level, which meant he didn't even need to lift a finger to wipe out most of the creatures around him. The other hunters were just as amazed since the kid had single-handedly cleared out most of the monsters in the area. Realizing he was their best shot at cutting down the tide, they decided to use him as a walking trap and lure beasts straight into his radiation field. Fast forward, the hunters managed to take out the beast tide's leader, but it was far stronger than they expected. The victory cost them dearly. Many were killed, and most of the survivors were left badly wounded and in no shape to fight. But unlike all those losers, our boy was built different. Despite the chaos, he was still up and moving, hauling around massive piles of monster cores and even looking for more kills. Watching him drag himself around like that, Luozi felt a little embarrassed since they were supposed to be a team after all. So he handed the kid a storage ring, something worth a fortune, that could stash away all those cores with ease. But just then they heard an announcement that someone by the name of Boss Wu Sen was finally back. Turning toward the commotion, they saw a man hovering in the air. From the looks of him, he screamed your typical protagonist-hating character. You know, the guy whose only job is to show up, act superior, and then get smacked down later for character development. Apparently, he'd been out there hunting down Lord-level monsters, which was supposed to be a really big deal. Yeah, look at that face, I knew he was the typical protagonist-hating character. Except turns out I was wrong. Instead of spewing insults, the guy went straight to our boy, introduced himself as the leader of the Silver Wolf Martial Arts Group, and actually extended his hand. Even crazier, he invited our hero to join his guild, offering to sign an S-level membership contract with him. Hearing those words, the crowd behind them was more excited than the kid himself, since that contract meant an easy life, ridiculous pay, and prestige. After all, Silver Wolf wasn't just some group, it was the largest martial arts organization in the entire kingdom. Even the most talented students usually weren't qualified to touch an S-level contract. But just then, everyone saw a dangerous-looking female, and by dangerous I mean in a good way, riding in on her tiger and making her way towards our boy. But unlike Wu Sen, she didn't even bother introducing herself and got straight to the point, inviting our hero into her martial arts group instead. Even though her group was smaller compared to the Silver Wolf, she promised that he would enjoy 15% of their group's monthly training resources. Again, I don't know how much that is, but from those expressions, it must be a lot. But still, unlike the drooling idiots behind him, our kid wasn't all that interested in joining any martial arts group for now. Seeing that, Wu Sen didn't push and decided to honor the kid's decision. So he simply wished him good luck and told him their doors would always be open if he ever changed his mind. After they were gone, Luozi approached the kid since the beast tide had already been dealt with, which meant they could explore this place freely, and suggested they go to the top of the treetops first and see the whole area to plan their next move accordingly, to which the protagonist agreed. Just like that, both of them started making their way to the top of the largest tree in the area, and upon reaching the top, the kid was left stunned seeing the sight in front of him. The place was massive, with gigantic creatures reaching more than 1,000 meters tall in the distance. But instead of being afraid, the fool was grinning, clearly wondering what kind of loot monsters like that would drop. Luo Ji, meanwhile, was wondering if this guy had a few screws loose. Even veteran hunters would panic at the sight, yet this kid was already thinking about how to take on monsters no one had ever dared to challenge before. Just then, our boy sensed something off. Activating his life magnetic field, he noticed that the southeastern part of the realm was strangely empty of low-level monsters, which could only mean one thing. That place was home to something far more powerful. With that, he told Luo Ji about their next move. They were heading straight there to take out whatever was living in that spot. Fast forward, the two of them arrived at the spot, only for our boy to spot a familiar figure ahead. It was the ever-beautiful Yuli, who looked just as surprised to see him suddenly show up. They walked toward each other and the kid asked how long they had been there. Yuli told him they had only arrived about 10 minutes ago, and right now their scouting members were checking the lake to see if they could find anything inside. Almost on cue, a man burst out of the water. Without wasting a second, he shouted that they were about to get rich. Turns out, while swimming, he managed to locate some kind of relic under the lake and was over the moon, swearing it was going to make them a fortune. Meanwhile, our hero didn't even know what they were talking about, so he asked Luoji if he knew what that guy was so hyped about. Luoji explained that in secret realms, there were sometimes mysterious buildings suspected to be leftovers from some ancient civilization. Experts called them relics, and it was believed that the foundations of modern martial arts and even genetic technologies came from those relics, which was why they were considered extremely valuable. Just then, the hyped-up man noticed both of them standing behind him. Without a second thought, he reached for his sword, ready to cut them down for eavesdropping. But Yuli quickly stopped him, explaining that these two were the first and second scorers in the An City College entrance exam and that they were with her. She added that their strength far surpassed that of most ordinary warriors, which was why she was letting them tag along. Hearing that, the man calmed down and stepped toward our hero, asking how they planned on dividing the spoils. The kid answered that since he and Luoji were just external helpers, the party could handle the loot distribution themselves and simply pay the two of them according to their contribution. That sounded reasonable enough to the man, so he reluctantly agreed to the arrangement. Fast forward, all of them were seen swimming toward the location and eventually climbed out to find a massive cave entrance waiting for them. According to the hyped fool, the ruins were on the other side, but something was off. The person he had left behind to watch this spot was nowhere to be seen, so with no other choice he tried contacting him a few times but no answer came back. Seeing this, Yuli asked if they had checked for any signs of monster activity after discovering the cave. The man explained that the first thing they did after finding this place was release monster bait bombs, but not a single creature showed up. But the girl with glasses was getting a bad feeling about everything. She pointed out that one of their members had already disappeared after arriving here, and suggested they turn back before something worse happened. But for some reason, that set the man off. Furious, he snapped that they couldn't just walk away from wealth and glory sitting right in front of them. Otherwise, they would spend the rest of their lives stuck as low-level warriors. He then told everyone that if anyone wanted to turn back, they were free to leave. Fast forward, I guess no one was smart enough to turn back, since everyone was seen making their way deeper into the cave following after the man's footprints. But our boy in the back knew something was off, so he started communicating with Luoji via lip movement, sharing his doubts. Turns out Luoji was getting the same feeling. On top of that, nothing was adding up, since according to Yuli, when they first met, she told them they arrived 10 minutes ahead of them, yet this man was able to find this cave at the bottom of the huge lake in such a small amount of time, which made it clear that all this was clearly a trap, and he suggested they warn Yuli and leave this place. But our boy, on the other hand, had other plans. Instead of turning away, he suggested they go along with this, since he had a trump card under his sleeve he was itching to try. Fast forward, all of them arrived at the location and found a massive room with gigantic vines hanging from the ceiling. Meanwhile, Yuli, slow to catch up, finally realized that something was off and asked the man about the relic he was talking about. But before he could answer, they heard the glasses girl pointing to the ceiling, telling everyone to take a look. Looking up, they saw the body of their missing member hanging from the ceiling. Seeing the sight, both girls froze, realizing these things were more than just vines. They had just walked into something they weren't prepared for. And the man, he was freaking out, murmuring some gibberish, asking why he came to this place and where the relic was. But as he lifted his head, everyone saw the gruesome sight. The man's head had started to bulge like a balloon, and they heard him telling all of them to run. Those were the last words that left the man's lips as countless vines burst out of his body, blowing away his head. But instead of dying like a normal person, the guy started walking towards the rest of the hunters. Just then, a powerful laser beam swept past everyone, completely disintegrating the walking corpse and the parasite that was controlling him. After he was done taking care of the man, our boy showed surprise, since this was his first time coming across a monster who possessed such intelligence. After hunting the two warriors, it parasitized the brain of one of them to use him as bait to lure more people into this place. And right now, all of them were standing in the creature's hunting ground. While he was busy monologuing, the creature used its vines to block the exit from the place. Seeing no other way out but to fight, Luoji warned everyone that he had read about this monster somewhere, and according to him, this creature was a second-level king-class monster called the Ghost Demon Vine. Hearing that name, the already terrified Yuli froze, since if that thing was truly second-level king-class, it meant none of them were getting out of this place alive. But our Chad was more hyped than ever, telling Yuli to just stand back and watch him pulverize that thing to bits. But before he could do anything, the blocked entrance to the place suddenly got blasted into bits by someone, and they saw a man walking into the cave with ki and blood smoke rising from his body, which meant that person was an 8th-level warrior. And of course, the man was after our boy, saying that he heard someone was using nuclear radiation in the secret realm to take out the beast, and knew exactly it was him. Without stopping, he started going on how he kept tailing him, following the trails of radiations left behind by him, and ended up coming to this spot where he saw that the place was completely blocked off, and the fool actually thought the kid had somehow managed to sense him, even though he had stopped his heartbeat and fell into a state of suspended animation. And that is why he blocked the path so he could stop him in his tracks. But the kid had no idea what this guy was even talking about, since he did none of those things, and asked if he had some business with him. Seeing him acting in such a way, even after beating his brother to death, the man loses it and goes straight to punch the kid's lights out. But before he could, the creature's vine started attacking him, and the stupid man, using that empty head of his, mistook it for another one of our boy's tricks, that the kid deliberately lured him into this beast's den so he could take him out easily. Meanwhile, our boy still had no idea what this brute was even talking about, as he saw him punching through the vines while rambling all sorts of nonsense. But just then, the man loses it, and deciding to take care of the creature quickly, he unleashes an AoE attack to burn through all the vines, and because of that, the whole cave starts shaking rapidly. And poor Yuli fails to realize that the ceiling had already started to crumble, and she was about to get crushed under massive rocks falling from above. But just then, she hears our boy shouting for her to get out of the way. Turning back, she finds him charging up his laser breath, and boom! The kid unleashed a powerful attack straight towards the ceiling and managed to turn those massive chunks of rocks into dust. But because of that, the ceiling of the place completely gets destroyed and seawater starts pouring into the cave. So with no other choice, he shouts for everyone to leave this place while he takes care of the man and the creature. But while he was doing that, he failed to see the man who was coming straight towards him to deliver a powerful punch. Lucky for him, Luoji acted in time and managed to block his fists before it could reach our hero. But the cocky man wasn't impressed and sneered back, asking if he seriously thought an attack of such a level was enough to hurt him. Too bad for him, by then, our boy was already airborne and was coming straight towards the chatterbox, and boom! A powerful punch rocked the whole place and the man got buried into the ground. After momentarily dealing with him, our boy turned towards Luo Xian, instructing him to use this chance to escape with the others while he deals with the guy. And with that, it was only him and the bulking loudmouth left in the whole place. Meanwhile, outside, the rest of the party had managed to escape the cave with their lives, and following after them was Luo Ji. But seeing that he came out alone, Yuli asked about our boy and why he hadn't come out yet. Before Luoji could answer, everyone saw a massive surge of electricity shoot into the sky, and from the water rose a colossal giant that came out from the lake. And with him was the chatterbox, who was completely torched after whatever had happened in there, looking like he'd been through 10 lifetimes of punishment. I was expecting an epic showdown in there, but honestly, the whole thing ended way too anticlimactically. Meanwhile, the rest of them watched in horror, unable to understand nor believe their eyes at what they were seeing. But then they saw the kid come out of the water completely naked, asking Luoji to lend him some clothes. After some time, he was seen catching his breath while the rest of them asked what happened in there. The kid told everyone that Guy brought a plasma bomb with him and died together with the ghost demon vines while trying to take him out. But Luoji was having a hard time believing it. For one, plasma bombs were military grade, no normal hunter could get their hands on one. And second, that explosion they had just witnessed was way too massive for a plasma bomb. On top of that, he swore he saw a giant figure appearing from within the smoke, and our kid, listening to everything, was sweating, unsure of what to do. He waved it off and insisted they must have been seeing things. It was just the explosion. Thankfully, they bought it, and he managed to save his secret about possessing a monster template ability. And also that he managed to snag that magic core from that ghost demon vine. With that, Yuli, along with her party, started leaving, thanking our boy for saving their lives in there and promising to compensate him after they left the secret realm. But our boy told her it was no big deal, he was just returning a favor since she did help him in the past. After they were gone, both of them turned towards each other, since with no one left around, it meant only one thing. They were free to run wild in this place and hunt down as many monsters as they wanted. Fast forward 3 days, and both of them were seen coming out of the portal, and the moment they stepped foot into the real world, both of them froze, seeing the sight in front of them, since they were standing in the middle of a massive city instead of barren land, which they remembered. Turns out, while they were inside the secret realm, the government was busy building a massive city around the gate. The scene cuts once more, and the first thing our boy did after coming out was go straight to the appraisal center to sell off the magic cores he gathered inside the realm. Seeing him slam that massive sack on her table, the girl was startled and told him to be more gentle with those, since if he accidentally damaged even one of those, he wouldn't be able to sell it anymore. Our boy quickly apologized, explaining that he just wanted to get everything out fast, otherwise she'd be stuck working until noon just counting stones. But the girl assured him they were professionals in here, so he didn't need to worry about anything. Next second, she was regretting saying those words, seeing the kid pull out sack after sack filled with magic cores from that ring. Seeing the mountain of stones stacked in front of her, the girl in a trembling voice asked if he was finally done. Of course he wasn't. He still had plenty more tucked away, all waiting to be turned into cash. After some time, all the big appraisers were seen gathered around a table, looking at all the materials brought in by the kid, especially the spiritual medicine, since most of those were extremely rare, something even skilled hunters have a hard time getting their hands on. Meanwhile, our boy stood in the back, watching the staff panic over the mountain of low-grade items he had just dumped on them. Those things were worthless to him now, since the real treasures were the 5 blue monster cores and the single green one with gold patterns, taken from the second-level king-type demon Vine. With most of his inventory cleared out and his bank account freshly fattened, he walked out of the appraisal shop, already thinking about how to sell his unidentified spiritual medicine. That's when a Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of him, and out stepped an old man who introduced himself as Li Yudian, boss of Pink Pharmacy. He was here specifically to buy the spiritual medicine our boy had brought out from the secret realm. Hearing that, the kid wasn't exactly thrilled. His info had clearly been leaked by the appraisal center. Still, he was also relieved. At least now he didn't have to waste time wandering around trying to find a buyer. With that, all the stuff was sold out and he received 7,450,000 yuan for all those medicines. But still, it was far from what he needed, since with this much money he could hardly increase his strength by 10%, because all those low-grade genetic potions were not doing anything for him anymore. And if he wanted to make his template stronger, he needed high-quality materials. Just as he was wondering how to increase his strength, a thought hit him, and he remembered about the tournament where he faced off against countless martial artists, who he managed to break only because of his powerful abilities. But in terms of martial arts, he was nowhere near their level. With this new goal in mind, he started sprinting towards his old school to meet with his principal. Fast forward, he was in the man's office being treated like royalty. He even got to sit in the principal's chair. All because he had won the tournament and made their middle school #1 in the whole kingdom. But the kid hadn't come for flattery. Skipping the formalities, he brought out one of the rarest medicinal wines for the old man, and seeing his eyes sparkling, he got straight to the point. He explained that he was looking for someone who could teach him real martial arts, and asked if the principal could arrange something. The principal, caught off guard, reminded him that he would soon be admitted into Huadu University anyway. Once there, he would have access to all kinds of powerful martial artists. He suggested the kid be a little more patient, but our boy clearly wasn't willing to wait that long. With sparkling eyes, he told the principal he wanted to sharpen his skills even more before entering Huadu University, to prove what kind of geniuses this school was producing. Yeah, the principal wasn't buying it. He simply said he would make some calls and see what he could arrange. Not ready to give up, the kid laid it on thick. He praised the man as the only principal in the entire kingdom who truly understood his students and what was best for them, calling him a blessing to the whole education industry. That seemed to do the trick, since the man agreed to help him find the best tutor possible so he could get stronger. With that, the story cuts to the next day, and our boy was seen on a call with the principal, who was telling him he managed to find him the best tutor for his training. That was when the kid heard Liu family's name, and that they were willing to teach him their family's secret martial arts, and the kid almost dropped to the ground in disbelief. The story cut to the outskirts of An City, where a man was riding his bike with his girlfriend on the back. The girl clung to him, calling him awesome for how fast he was going. The guy, enjoying the praise, was busy showing off when a voice came from the side, warning him not to get distracted at high speed. Turns out it was our boy pedaling along on his beat-up bicycle, heading toward the Liu family mansion. Seeing him keeping up on that junker, the man wasn't thrilled. He hit the throttle and bolted ahead, leaving our boy in the dust while the couple laughed at him. Yeah, that wasn't something our boy was about to let slide. Before they could even celebrate their little victory, a deafening boom echoed behind them. The next second, the kid shot past on his small cycle, blasting ahead so fast they didn't even have time to react. The couple just stared dumbfounded as he disappeared down the road, like the guy had turned his bike into a straight-up airplane. Fast forward, and he finally managed to reach the place and was amazed to see the size of the place. Hell, even I was amazed. That thing is massive. But before entering, he decided to use his life magnetic field and instantly picked up several powerful presences inside. While he was still peeking around, he saw the beautiful Liu Qingzu coming out of the place to greet him. The girl explained that her mother instructed her to come out and greet him, and told him to follow her so he could meet with her. Along the way, the kid noticed countless servants taking care of the massive place, and upon entering, the sight inside was even more magnificent. Oh, and I'm not talking about the house, but the woman in front of him. Since Qingzu's mother is drop-dead gorgeous, who's walking down to meet with our boy. Good job, artist, you just earned my vote. And right there and then, our boy finally understood why that old prime minister, but now in my eyes the misunderstood sage, basically spent his whole life acting like a slave to his wife. The story cuts back to the end of examination day, where Qingzu was seen standing before her mother, apologizing for losing the tournament. But the woman brushed it off, telling her not to think too much about it, since she had been watching the live broadcast of her fight with Yi and knew she gave it her all. But that boy was just too powerful for anyone in their age group, so she shouldn't blame herself. Just then, she completely changed the subject, surprising Qingzu, as she heard her mother pointing out that her younger brother did not possess the talent needed to inherit the Liu family. However, she, on the other hand, was a different story. But despite all that talent, she was nothing more than a girl, and on top of that, a beautiful one. Which is why she was worried, since after the passing of her father, the Liu family lost its master to back them up, and because of that they were forced to retreat to this small An city. Now she feared that sooner or later a powerful family would come asking for Qingzu's hand in marriage, and they would have no choice but to agree. Which also means that the Liu family will be destroyed and the century-old foundation will be handed over to someone else, and she simply cannot allow that to happen. Which is why she decided to pair her with that kid she fought against in the tournament and ask what her thoughts were on that. Seeing that surprised expression on her face, she reminded the girl that Yi possessed outstanding talent and was from a simple family background with a very bright future ahead. And from what she could tell, he, unlike most others out there, did not possess any greedy ambitions, which made him the perfect choice for the Liu family. Back in the present, our boy was seen greeting his soon-to-be mother-in-law, thanking her for letting him learn the Liu family martial arts. He also brought her a gift. The woman told him that since it was a request from number 1 middle school, she could not refuse. She then instructed Qingzu to show him the way. That surprised the kid since she agreed to the request without any hesitation or anything in return, and he wondered what was going on. But then he saw her walk past him, telling him to follow Qingzu, who would take him to the martial arts pavilion. Since the techniques stored in the pavilion were not allowed to be taken outside, she permitted him to learn whatever he could in one day. Whether he managed to learn anything in that time would depend entirely on his ability. To that, the protagonist thanked the entire Liu family for the opportunity, but the sly one knew that by doing so, he was now indebted to the Liu family, and they would make him repay this kindness very soon in the future. Meanwhile, poor Qingzu in the back, who had been completely ignored the whole time, was just staring at both of them in confusion, not sure what to even say. Fast forward, and both of them were seen walking towards the pavilion. To break the silence, our boy asked Qingzu why. For some reason, he felt like she was trying to avoid looking at him. That startled the girl, and before she could recover from that, the kid moved in closer asking for the reason, and that completely stunned the girl. In her shock, she leaped back a little, asking what he was trying to do, getting so close to her out of nowhere. After some time, both lovers were seen standing before a massive stone door made out of something called Huali stone, a special stone excavated from the secret realm, which can dissolve the attack power of the master-level awakener without breaking. But the kid, clearly not interested in all that, simply asked the girl if he could try and punch the thing to see if it really was that durable. That sudden question surprised Qingzu, since instead of being in awe at the qualities of the stone, this idiot was asking if he could punch it. But still, she told him to go ahead. Hearing that, the kid started charging up his fist. Seeing that the fool was preparing to go all out, the girl turned around, especially since that stupid attack of his was bringing up horrible memories in her mind. And just like that, boom, a full-power thunderous fist landed right in the middle of the massive thing, shaking the whole place. But in the next second, as the dust cleared, the kid was seen standing there like an idiot, since he didn't even manage to lay a scratch on the thing. Seeing the look on his face after acting so cocky just moments ago, Qingzu had a hard time controlling her emotions, so she told him to follow her so she could take him to choose the martial arts. With that, both of them entered the place where Qingzu explained all the different kinds of martial arts training available and asked which one he was planning on choosing. The kid told her he wanted to learn Xuan martial arts. Hearing that, the girl took him to a room in the corner, but she also made it clear that Xuan Wang martial arts weren't something a person could comprehend in just one day, so she suggested she pick out a few books for him instead, ones that were second only to Xuan Wang and could actually be learned in the time he had. Seeing how serious the girl was about him, the kid didn't waste the chance to tease her a little, asking if she was really going out of her way so she could help him. That annoyed the girl even more, but she decided to endure him for now. But our boy told her she didn't need to worry about anything, since he came here to learn the strongest one, and if he couldn't do that, then he might as well just turn around and leave. Hearing that, the girl had no other choice, so she started opening the door to the place, while explaining that the place he was about to enter was top secret, where those secret martial arts are kept. Entering the place, the kid saw 3 safes placed in front of him. That is when he heard Qingzu explaining that a person can't learn Xuan Wang martial arts by watching or reading. Rather, they have to feel the martial rhyme left by the creator, which meant that Xuan Wang martial arts was in a way alive, which chose the martial artist and not the other way around. But the kid had absolutely no clue what the girl was trying to say, so he told her to open the thing so they could get started. With that, the door to the first safe was finally opened, and what was inside left the kid completely baffled, since it was unlike anything he was expecting. Instead of scrolls or books containing the knowledge, he saw a statue of a demonic creature stored inside the safe. But Qingzu explained that what he was seeing wasn't just a statue. It was a carrier of martial rhyme holding the knowledge of the martial artist inside. Only true martial masters could condense this martial rhyme and attach it to objects, so their arts could be passed down to future generations. After saying this, she turned around and started to leave. That surprised the boy, since she never explained how he was supposed to actually learn from the statue. To that, Qingzu reminded him that he needed to sense the martial rhyme, and if he was truly fated, he would be able to connect with it. Yeah, no, the kid still had no idea what the girl was talking about. With no other choice, he did the only thing he could think of. He decided to take a nap. Meanwhile, Qingzu, watching everything from the observation room, was left completely speechless, seeing him take a nap in such a serious situation. Fast forward who knows how long, and the kid was finally seen waking up from his nap. But when he opened his eyes, he found himself in a completely different place. Looking back, he saw a massive statue and wondered if this was what they meant by sensing the martial rhyme. Turns out that high IQ move of his, taking a nap, actually worked, and his consciousness got pulled into the world of martial rhyme. Since this place was a spiritual realm, he wasn't able to feel any martial ki or even use the Demora template from his body, which meant in here he was nothing more than an ordinary person. But just then, he noticed a notification from the system informing him that because he had entered a special space, the system had blessed his spiritual body to make sure the host didn't die. Before he could understand what this blessing was, he heard a voice from the back commenting that only a real man can inherit their martial arts. Turning to the location, he saw an individual sitting on top of the massive statue, telling the kid he needed to prove himself as the real man of iron. The kid was somewhat surprised since the man in front of him looked exactly like the statue he saw with Kingzu. He heard the man explaining that soon a storm was about to arrive, and with it hundreds of ghosts. His objective was to guard the temple for him and protect the angry-faced bodhisattva from being defiled by evil ghosts. If he succeeded in doing so, he would be granted the ability to guard the house, but if he failed, he would lose his sanity and never be able to practice martial arts again. Just as the man was done speaking, the kid noticed a drop of water falling on his face and heard the man telling him that the storm was here. With that, the man disappeared, and the kid found himself standing face to face with countless ghostly figures staring right at him, and somehow a sword had also manifested in his hand. Realizing he had no other choice, the kid raised the blade to protect the temple from the charging ghosts. Just like that, a battle broke out, and the kid started slicing his way through all the incoming enemies with ease, and with just a couple of swings, he managed to take out a bunch of them. Seeing how weak the things were, the kid grew even more confident, and without thinking, started running towards the monsters to finish them off quickly. While he was busy carving through the entities, the strange man was watching him from a distance, and was impressed at how well the boy held his ground against so many enemies for now. But he also knew the moment the kid stepped outside, he lost the protection of the ruined temple, which meant it was only a matter of time before the ghosts overwhelmed him and started devouring him. And just as the man predicted, one of the ghosts managed to sneak up from behind and swung its claw, ready to tear the boy to pieces. But instead, it phased right through him without leaving a single scratch. Even the strange man was shocked, wondering what was going on. Guess what? That last blessing by the system to keep him alive. Yeah, it made the kid completely immune to any kind of attacks in this spiritual realm. Realizing this, the kid turned to the remaining ghosts with a grin on his face, since it meant he didn't need to worry about getting attacked and could go all out on the monsters. And before the man could process what was going on, he saw a powerful flash of golden light sweep past the whole battlefield, taking out most of the ghosts in one hit, and that left him wondering how this kid was not affected by the martial rhyme. When he asked, the boy casually replied that he never slacks off, studies hard, and practices diligently. The man, of course, didn't buy it. He knew there was more going on here than the boy was letting on. But since he had managed to defeat most of the ghosts, the man had no choice but to honor his bet and pass on his inheritance. Still, he gave a fair warning. Whether the boy could accept it or not would depend entirely on him. He told the kid to go back into the temple where he would find a well underneath the statue, containing the essence of the evil spirit that he condensed during his lifetime. And the technique he came here looking for was also in the well, but he would have to refine it himself. And sure enough, the kid saw the well, and without any hesitation, he leaped straight into the thing to receive the power. Even the strange man himself was surprised, seeing how casually the kid jumped into that thing without even thinking about the consequences. The story cuts to the man's past where, at his peak, he became a hero who cleared an S-level secret realm all on his own, thanks to the ability he possessed. But that same ability was the reason he lost his life along with everyone who was with him. Since with old age his ki and blood began to decline, the evil spirit which he was suppressing in his body began to break free and go off the rails. So in order to keep the spirit sealed, he had no other choice but to end his own life. But before his death, he mixed his soul along with the vengeful spirits, and using martial rhyme, he cast them into the statue. As time passed, the evil spirit started dissipating, but it was still far from what a mere martial artist could bear. And right now, that kid had to subdue that evil spirit living inside that well in order to receive the power he craved for. With that, the scene cuts to the observation room where Kingzu and her mother were watching the kid through the cameras. Just then, Kingzu suddenly noticed something strange going on in the room as both of them saw the kid's body crackling with some kind of dark energy. Seeing him in this state, the girl froze, unsure of what to make of it, since just a second ago the guy had a smug expression on his face while sleeping. But now, out of nowhere, he started twitching and his whole body had started to bleed. Seeing the confusion on her face, her mother informed the girl that this martial arts was obtained by her grandfather by chance in his late years when he reached the level of Grandmaster. But when he tried to practice it, he was directly rejected by the martial arts, and because of that, suffered many internal injuries. And since that day, no one in the Liu family had successfully practiced this art, because the power was too extraordinary and the way to obtain it was unbearable for ordinary people. But just then, her eyes widened in disbelief, seeing what was in front of her as she saw the kid casually waking up from his sleep like nothing even happened. To make matters worse, she then heard her daughter comment that, from the looks of it, the technique didn't seem that hard to learn after all, like how she was describing it. Meanwhile, the kid was thanking the strange man for teaching him his martial arts, and heard a voice answering that he was the most talented person he had seen in his entire life, and because of that, he was leaving the task of finding out the truth of the secret realms to him, something he and his predecessors were unable to complete. But what he didn't know was that behind all that, the kid was grinning, since the only reason he had cleared the trial was because he cheated, thanks to his template's blessing. And now, after gaining the power, he realized his attributes were still the same as before, but with his ability, he was able to boost his combat strength to at least twice. Well, basically, to put it in simple words, this ability is a ripoff of Kaioken that Goku uses. As he was going through his thoughts, he saw both women running into the room, asking if he really managed to learn the ability, and heard the kid telling them he did. Hearing that answer, Kinlan was left in disbelief, since even if it were her daughter with her talent, she would have to spend at least a week in the martial rhyme space without sleep in order to learn such powerful techniques. But this kid managed to achieve this in 1 hour. Kingzu was thinking the same thing. This guy wasn't just talented, he was a full-blown genius. Seeing the doubt on their faces, our boy decided to prove it to them by demonstrating the ability. And both mother and daughter saw in amazement as the kid activated the ability, explaining that the thing they saw behind him was the evil spirit he gained from the martial rhyme world. To further explain, he told both of them that it was like an enhancement which could be added to his current martial energy to make it more lethal. Sensing the aftershock from his punch, Kingzu was amazed. From what she could tell, the kid was now many times stronger than when he had fought her. And for her mother, yeah, well, let's just say her brain had already skipped a few steps. From the look in her eyes, she wasn't thinking son-in-law anymore, she was eyeballing husband material. Not that it would be a bad deal for the kid, honestly. But our Giga Chad told the woman to be a bit more reserved since her daughter was still in the room with them. But then she heard her daughter reminding the kid that there were still 2 more martial arts left in the room, and since he still had a whole day left, she asked if he wanted to learn them as well. Seeing how stupid the girl was, the woman couldn't help but sigh, since she had clearly told her earlier she didn't want to marry the kid, but still offered their entire family property to him. But to her surprise, she heard the kid refuse, explaining that he was already pretty worn out from learning Suanwar martial arts, and told Kinlan that he would like to take his leave since there was something important he had to do. The woman told him it was fine, but also pointed out that she heard from a servant that he came to this place on a shabby-looking bike and offered him to take a car from their garage instead, since it would be more convenient for him. Mentioning his cycle reminded the kid about that guy on the bike and his girlfriend who mocked him earlier. Recalling that, he asked the woman if instead it would be possible for her to arrange a bike for him. That request surprised the woman, since the kid had the same taste as her troublesome son, but she agreed to give him the best one from her son's collection. With that, the story cut to the outside, where her troublesome son was making his way to see our boy. He had heard that his mother had invited their soon-to-be live-in son-in-law over, and since his sister was a once-in-a-100-years genius beauty, he wanted to see for himself if this man was really up to the hype. Oh boy, it was the same guy from the bike, who was still sulking over the fact that his new girlfriend had left him, thanks to our boy. Just then, he noticed someone zoom past him and froze. As he turned to see who it was, he realized it was the same kid he had been thinking about. On top of that, he was taking his favorite bike with him. Just like that, the story cuts to the night, and our boy was seen preparing to gulp down the monster cores he had been saving up. Since the things tasted disgusting, he had prepared some sauce this time to enhance their flavor. With that, he took his first bite and instantly received a notification from the system, informing him that his attributes had been improved. But it was far from enough, since the last time he used his supergiant humanoid template, he noticed that its height was about 50 meters. Compared to ordinary monsters, that was pretty high, but not when it came to those mysterious creatures which were as big as mountains, and that was his goal, to reach that height so he could slay those monsters. So he kept adding all the points to the giant template, and before he knew it, he was down to the rarest core of them all, which he gained from the demon vine. And damn, this was powerful, since the kid lit up like a light bulb as soon as he absorbed the thing into his body. Not just that, but he also saw a notification from the system informing him that after absorbing the genetic sequence of a plant life form, a special mutation had been produced within his body. This was something new, so the kid wondered if he should go with it or not, since if it turned out to be something useless, he would be wasting all his points. After thinking for like 2 seconds, he made his decision and accepted the mutation. And his gamble worked. The kid unlocked an S-rank nuclear template. Not just that, but the thing had a 2% chance of evolving into Star Universe Demora after reaching 100% synergy. Seeing this, the kid was super excited since just the name sounded so powerful, and he wondered how cool the ability itself would be. But just then he heard a loud explosion in the distance and got startled. Looking out, he wondered what could be going on out there at this hour. Well, that's all, folks. Leave a like for your boy and hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along with the story. Until next time, take care.